The typical road movie, exemplified by Easy Rider, employs a storyline involving a young naive duo who set out on a journey of discovery. The journey often leads to an inner transformation, which can result in either disillusionment or an awakening. We see this formula repeated in road movies from all around the world. In Y Tu Mama Tambien, a pair of friends set off on a journey through Mexico with a Spanish acquaintance in tow. The Motorcycle Diaries tracks the journey of Che Guevara that ultimately leads to his political awakening. Wim Wenders' Alice in the Cities takes on a different approach to road movies. We find a German writer traveling through America. The movie initially shows all the things you would expect to see in an American road movie. The film, however, quickly shifts over to Europe. The protagonist finds himself having to babysit a young girl on a transatlantic flight. When the young girl's mother fails to show up at their expected meeting point, he finds himself having to locate the home of the young girl's grandmother so that he can drop her off. In Europe, we find a society in the process of being transformed by the forces of consumerism. We see symbols of Americana everywhere. We find Coca-Cola signs at the police station and jukeboxes in cafes. Wenders even makes sure to set a scene inside a Chinese restaurant in Amsterdam.
Müssen wir in so einem billigen Restaurant essen?
Ich habe nicht mehr viel Geld.
Wenders appears to have very ambivalent feelings about these changes happening to German society.
Ich finde es schade, dass die schönen alten Häuser abgerissen werden.
Die bringen nicht mehr genug Miete.
The curious structure of the film, however, draws this film away from being a simple social critique. Pairing the solitary writer with a young girl creates an unusual dynamic. As the writer tries to help out the girl, he finds himself adopting her point of view. He learns to see the world through her eyes. This enables him to see the world differently. The things that had drawn his attention initially, symbols of Americana, jazz musicians, corporate branding, and signage, no longer draw him in as they once did. With this girl, he no longer feels lost. This isn't a road movie that ends with some kind of disillusionment. Rather, this film is about recovered innocence. This is a film about a return to childhood. Throughout the movie, we see the protagonist's behavior change as well.
Kaulquappe. Wettmesser. Blöde Kuh.
This surrogate fatherhood becomes something redemptive for a writer who we initially see completely lost in America. This creates a very satisfying narrative arc. This was not the first road movie to pair a jaded grown-up with a young child. We see a similar setup in Paper Moon, directed by Peter Bogdanovich. The setup is repeated in later films, such as Paris, Texas, Wim Wenders' reappraisal of the same formula, and Little Miss Sunshine. This is clearly a very successful setup. I've also wondered if the Pixar animation, Up, can be said to belong to this mini subgenre of road movies as well. None of these movies, however, can quite match the poignancy of Alice in the Cities, in my opinion. Maybe it's the young girl's performance, or the satisfying transformation we see in the writer. I'm not 100% sure. Whatever the case, this film is one of my personal favorites. It's not only a satisfying road movie, but also, in its own way, a nuanced social commentary. It's not an easy movie to pin down. I think that's why I like it.